The story opens with Violet, wounded and bleeding in her own home. She tries to escape, but her husband attacks her mercilessly. He then points a gun at Violet, but instead of killing her, he hands the gun to her and tells her to shoot him. Violet screams and pulls the trigger. The scene shifts to 2 years after the murder, where Violet has a new life. She has become a therapist for women who have experienced domestic violence. However, the trauma of the past still haunts her. To forget her past, Violet downloads a dating app and meets a man named Henry. That day, while she was at home, a man appeared outside, claiming to be an electricity company employee checking the meter. Without thinking, Violet opened the door and let him in. That evening, her sister Jen came to visit, babysitting her son Toby. Violet had a dinner date with a guy she met online. Since it was their first date, she was a little nervous. After putting on makeup and dressing nicely, Violet told Jen to put Toby to bed by 8 p.m. She would monitor them at home via camera. Violet then went to a fancy restaurant on the top floor of the city's tallest building. While in the elevator, she suddenly received a text message from Henry saying he would be 10 minutes late. Violet then went into the restaurant and met a friendly bartender named Kara. Violet said that because it was her first date, she felt a little nervous. A little later, a middle-aged man named Richard approached. He was also there for his first date and mistook Violet for his girlfriend. At this point, another man named Phil appeared. He tried to flirt with Violet, but Kara loudly stopped him. Kara apologized and explained that he was just a member of the restaurant's band. While waiting, Violet opened her phone and texted Jen to check on her son, Toby. Suddenly, she received a picture sent via airdrop. Violet looked around but saw everyone engrossed in their phones, so she didn't know who sent it. At that moment, Henry appeared and cheerfully greeted her. He apologized for being late and gave Violet a small gift as a token of his appreciation. A waiter named Matt then came over and cheerfully introduced the restaurant's menu. While they were talking, Violet received another picture telling her not to ignore the message. She anxiously showed it to Henry. They both looked around to see who had sent it. Henry saw a group of rowdy teenagers sitting nearby and assumed it was just a prank. Violet felt a little less tense, but just a few minutes later, she received another message telling her to check the security camera at home. Startled, Violet opened the camera and saw it had been hacked and they could see everything. If she tried to call the police, her son would be killed immediately. Violet ran into the bathroom, intending to ask some nearby girls to call the police for her, but the anonymous caller texted her not to ask anyone. Violet borrowed a lipstick and wrote a plea for help on her hand, but the girls didn't understand and left. Violet then checked her surroundings and discovered a listening device placed behind the sink. She pretended to be calm and returned to the dining table, but Henry quickly realized something was wrong. She justified her anxiety by saying she had never been away from her son for so long. At this point, the girl discovered another listening device placed behind the lamp on the table. Knowing that their conversation had been eavesdropped on, Violet pretended to be afraid of heights and asked Henry to move to another table. He happily agreed and asked the waiter to lead them both to a nearby table. As soon as she stood up, a message from the anonymous sender appeared, warning her not to leave or Toby would die. Seeing this, Violet quickly asked to return to their original table, explaining that they were there to admire the city view. Henry was a little confused but complied. After returning to their seat, the anonymous person sent a message asking Violet to retrieve the memory card from the camera in Henry's bag. Sweating profusely, she quickly removed her watch and put it in her bag. While Henry wasn't paying attention, she pretended to have dropped her watch and didn't know where it was. She asked Henry to go to the reception desk to see if anyone had found it. As soon as he left, she quickly stole the camera from his bag. Violet discovered that it contained photos of the city mayor and a financial report revealing his corruption. She then stole the memory card from the camera. Before Henry could return, Violet said she might have left her watch in the restroom and excused herself to go back and look for it. Upon entering, she received another message from the anonymous sender, instructing her to destroy the memory card. Wanting to save her son, she had no choice but to comply. Thinking her mission was complete, the sender sent another message, instructing her to check a nearby towel dispenser. Violet approached and discovered a small vial of liquid inside. The sender ordered her to put it in Henry's drink to kill him. Despite Violet's refusal, the sender remained unconcerned, claiming she could do it because she had previously killed her own husband. Violet was shocked to realize the person behind it all seemed to know everything about her. Devoted to a plan, she went to the reception desk to check the restaurant's security cameras and found a suspicious young man sitting alone. Thinking he was the sender, Violet approached him and spoke to him. However, the young man didn't reveal anything suspicious. Desperate, Violet returned to her table and saw Henry preparing to leave. He thought she wasn't interested in him, so he paid the bill and asked her to meet another time. Knowing she couldn't let Henry leave, Violet ran up to him and kissed him passionately, then apologized and begged him to stay. Meanwhile, at the nearby table of a middle-aged man named Richard, his date wasn't going well as his girlfriend yelled at him and left in front of him. As for Violet, upon returning to her table, she received another message from the anonymous sender, demanding she quickly complete her task. Seeing Phil from the band preparing to play the piano, she devised a plan. She asked the waiter to give him a tip, then wrote a plea for help on the bill, along with her home address. After ensuring the money was delivered to Phil, Violet turned to Henry and asked about his work. Henry said he had been a photographer for the mayor for 5 years. When she asked if he was a good person, Henry only stammered and didn't give a direct answer. He then said he had a phone call and hurried away. Violet saw Phil, who had finished his song, reaching for the tip money in the jar. He quickly read the words on her note, his face showing panic and fear. Violet saw Phil making a phone call, then quickly returned to the piano and drank a glass of wine to calm himself down. At that moment, Henry also returned, and their dinner was quickly served. But as Violet was about to eat her salad, she was startled to find her note on the plate. A message from the anonymous sender said that someone would pay for her messing things up. Violet looked at Phil and saw him staggering before collapsing. She realized the wine he had drunk was poisoned. The anonymous sender announced that Phil would die in a few minutes. It was all her fault. Violet frantically checked the home security cameras and discovered the killer attacking her sister and locking Toby in the bedroom. Despite her overwhelming anxiety, Violet tried to appear calm in front of Henry. To ease the tension, she said she wanted to go to the bar to get some drinks. However, in her haste, she dropped her purse, causing her watch to fall out. At the bar, Violet ordered 2 drinks and poisoned one of them. When she returned to her seat, Henry showed her hair watch and said he'd seen it in her purse. Seeing Violet looking uneasy all evening, he suggested she be frank about what was wrong. Violet recounted her past experiences of domestic violence and how she felt terrible for not leaving sooner, leaving her young son to witness such heartbreaking scenes. Henry comforted her, saying he'd been in a similar situation, seeing many good people harmed but unable to do anything to stop it. Violet smiled, acknowledging Henry as a good person. They raised their glasses to toast to overcoming their past. However, as Henry prepared to drink the poisoned drink, Violet deliberately knocked over the glass of wine on the table, causing him to pause. It turned out she didn't want an innocent person like Henry to die. After he went to the restroom, Violet received a message from an anonymous sender, telling her she wasn't very smart. At this point, the bartender approached and asked if anything was wrong. She suspected Henry had done something wrong to Violet and wanted to help her resolve the situation. Violet asked the bartender if she had noticed anyone constantly looking towards their table. The bartender revealed that the middle-aged man named Richard, although dating someone else, had been staring at her all evening. Feeling suspicious, Violet brought 2 glasses of wine to Richard's table and offered him the poisoned glass. However, the man cheerfully refused, calling Violet by her real name. Violet was confused as she had never introduced herself to him. Realizing he had been exposed, Richard asked her to sit down and admitted that he was the mastermind. Richard revealed that he had been hired by the mayor to kill Henry. He was actually a paparazzi photographer working for the FBI. Richard chose Violet because he thought she would be easier to kill, having done it once before with her ex-husband. However, Violet revealed that she had never killed anyone. Going back to that fateful night 2 years ago, Violet almost pulled the trigger, but ultimately couldn't bring herself to do it. As the police car arrived at the door, her husband snatched the gun and committed suicide in front of her. Returning to the present, Richard believed Violet's foolish plan had led to Phil's death. He had previously sent threatening messages just as Phil was about to call the police. Richard told Violet she couldn't win this game, as the restaurant's security cameras had captured her putting poison in Henry's drink. From now on, all she could do was obey his orders and kill Henry. At that moment, Henry returned. Violet introduced Richard, saying he was an old friend. She then gave the poisoned drink to Henry and watched him drink it all. After finishing, Violet told Henry to wait for her at the table. She demanded that Richard release the hostage because she had completed her task. The man happily called the killer and ordered a retreat. He complimented Violet on being a good girl and slowly savored the dessert before him. However, when he had eaten half of it, Violet unexpectedly approached and revealed that she hadn't put poison in the wine, but instead in the food itself. Enraged, the man pulled out his gun and was about to pull the trigger, but Henry quickly intervened, taking the bullet. The commotion caused those around to scream and scatter in panic. Richard chased after Violet and tried to shoot her again, but the bartender intervened. The girl was then stabbed in the back, sustaining a serious injury. Richard, enraged, ordered the killer to return to the house to kill Toby. He then aimed his gun at Violet. She mustered all her strength and threw the gift Henry had given her toward it, causing the glass to shatter and sucking both of them out. Richard fell straight down into the hall below, dying instantly. Violet, with her last ounce of strength, managed to hold onto the tablecloth. It seemed like she was going to die, but Henry managed to run over and pull her up. Violet quickly checked the security camera footage and saw the masked man entering her son's room. Without thinking, Violet borrowed Henry's car keys and ran straight home alone. Meanwhile, her younger sister Jen had woken up and was searching for Toby. Seeing the killer chasing him, she rushed to stop him, then took Toby into the bedroom and locked the door. However, just before the killer burst in, he shot Jen, wounding her, and fired repeatedly at the bed, intending to kill Toby. Violet arrived just in time. Hearing the commotion, the killer ran downstairs to investigate. The girl suddenly emerged from the shadows, stabbing him, but she was also thrown to the floor. At this moment, the killer removed his hood, revealing his identity as the man from the power company that morning. Toby's toy car arrived, carrying the gun the killer had dropped earlier. The girl seized the opportunity, firing multiple shots at him, killing him instantly. Finally, thanks to their intelligence and courage, the mother and daughter escaped a terrifying night. The film ends with a scene at the hospital where Henry is recovering. The TV reports that the mayor's corruption scandal has been exposed. Violet visits and thanks him for saving her life. Her younger sister, Jen, despite being injured, happily greets her future brother-in-law. Violet smiles and hopes they'll have another date soon. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.